Hello. I am Abe Nelson. I'm making this video for my family and for other Chili Chats viewers that stumble upon it and want to know what my thesis is and what I'm doing in my master's program. So this is what that video is, and I'll get right into it. This is the Mabton water crisis. I'm Abe Nelson. My advisor is Carrie Gazes, and I'm in the process of getting a committee. This slideshow, this is my thesis proposal, and it is a work in progress currently. There are some things missing that I will get on, but just for a little, just to see, So, shout out to the Friends of Toppenish Creek, Gene Mendoza and Ron Sell, for making this whole thing possible. So before we get started in what we're looking at specifically with Mabton, let's hop into like big picture, objectives, where we are, that kind of shenanigans. So big picture wise, groundwater is an increasing concern. We all know that. And that's a worldwide problem, and the Yakima River is a perfect test area because they've had contamination issues in the past. And as an added bonus, groundwater accounts for 90% of all drinking water in the rural USA. And lucky us, that's where we are, in the rural USA. So some motives, what we're looking at. These are some quotes from the community meeting on February 17th. Workers see firsthand what goes on in the dairies, but they won't say anything because they're going to lose their jobs. And schools had people donate water bottles because of how bad the situation is. They can't drink it, can't even shower. It shouldn't be that way. Water from the city smells like rotten eggs. Why is the farmer's drinkable but not ours? And, alright, so now let's talk about where we are exactly. So Mabton, where's Mabton? It's in Benton Basin along the Yakima River. There are over 70 licensed dairies in the lower Yakima Valley. Mabton has a population of 2,500 with plans to grow. They plan on adding 200 homes and 3 apartment buildings in the next 10 years. So let's get the drinking water situation handled before that happens. And here we are in these little black circles there. Oh, my face is covering one of them, but these are precipitation versus recharge. So the map on the left is precipitation, and Mabton, in that black circle, is in the red, which means they're getting less than 10 inches of precipitation a year, which for a place with a lot of agriculture, that's very not ideal. And the map on the right, you're going to have to take my word for it, but it's in the blue, actually, which means that it is getting over like 50 inches of recharge precipitation. How's that possible? Well, that is because of agricultural precipitation, or agricultural recharge, sorry. That is when the farms that water their crops, all that water seeps down into the aquifers below, and that can bring with it contamination and lead to a lot of problems, and we're going to dive into that today. Alright, so kind of more what we're looking at here around Mabton. This is from 2013 study in the EPA, all part of a massive Lower Yakima Valley study. And we can see that Mabton is surrounded by hop fields, pastures, various mixtures of alfalfa and grapes, vegetables. There's a lot going on. So it makes it even more difficult to track what is happening agriculturally. But now let's take a look at the subsurface. So this cross-section was made analyzing well data logs, and this is a 15,000 foot cross-section, with on the right of the screen being the Yakima River and the left being up gradient, and the middle being the town of Mabton. So we can see there were 9 well logs analyzed, and we can see there are around 200 feet of gravel sand, which makes it really permeable for water and contaminants to get through. And as we go further down through the subsurface, we can see vesicular basalt. We're getting into the basalt layers and clay interbeds with some sandstone. And I want to point right above my head, right there. There is a aquifer that mentions sulfur. And no spoilers, but let's keep that in mind. Let's keep thinking about the sulfur later on. And as we move further down, we get back into those basalts. We're in the Columbia River basalts with interbeds of green sandstone. We have vesicular basalts measuring out the difference. Now let's talk about why. The main question is why. Why is the water in Mabton bad, and what can we do about it? And I say bad because there's a few different things. And we need to stay a little broad. It's not black and white like the slide here. It's not black and white. It's very complicated. So let's look at the potential sources. So we got dairies, we got leaky pipes, we got septic systems, and we got hydrogen sulfide. And so those are the 4 sources that we're really going to focus on for this study. So let's talk about hydrogen sulfide. And that ties us back into the well that I told you guys to remember. Remember the well. So this is hydrogen sulfide. And that is that rotten egg smell that people were complaining about at the city community meeting. And what this is in a deep confining aquifer, when you pump it excessively, you run the risk of having low oxygen in that well, or in that aquifer. And when you have low oxygen, some bacteria thrives, anaerobic bacteria, and they can produce hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide gives us that rotten egg smell. It's very unpleasant. Pipes. Pipes are another one. Distribution system. The distribution system is when the city has a bunch of water and then they distribute it to the people on the city water. So if it's the distribution system, the contamination is not in the aquifer. The aquifer is clean, but the pipes are not. This would be expensive to replace. We could have possible lead-copper rule compliances concerning, and this would be the ideal situation if you were a homeowner. Household pipes. Household pipes would be one home affected. These homes would be affected differently, not one home affected, but it would vary by age of house, and the cold versus hot water would be different, and the cost would fall on the homeowner to replace these pipes. Let's go back here. Nope, can't go back. Okay. Dairies. So, the dairies produce nitrate. We know this to be true. There's been a lot of studies in the EPA in 2013 have confirmed that 97% of nitrate contamination is coming from dairies. And dairies are a problem because of this thing called blue baby syndrome. Blue baby syndrome is fatal to babies, obviously, and it's a problem for pregnant women. And what it is the oxygen can't get to certain parts of your body, and then that, as you can imagine, is fatal. Manure used as fertilizer for agricultural fields is also a problem because now when we track the manure, it can point us to agricultural fields and not the dairies. It can also carry pharmaceuticals, and we will talk about this in a little bit. Pharmaceuticals are how we can track where the nitrates are coming from. So we know that groundwater moves down gradient. So it moves towards you can see the little arrow there in the top picture. It moves towards the Yakima River. And so if each one of those little brown squares is a dairy, and then you look at the bottom picture there, this is all EPA 2013, we can see that the hot spots for nitrate contamination are also where the dairies are. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do about it? So this is 2025 data by Ron Sell. And each one of those little targets is a dairy in Mabton. Mabton is on the bottom of the stream there. We're looking at a different angle. And each one of those pillars is elevated nitrate that was tested in wells. What are we going to do about it? We're going to sample the wells above and below the dairies, because if the nitrate contamination is above the dairies, then we know it's not the dairies that are producing the nitrate like they claim. But if it is only below the dairies, we know it is the dairies. So septic systems, that's our fourth one. Septic systems are another nitrate hotspot. And in the top right, you can see this is a map of all the septic systems in Mabton. And when we're looking at pharmaceuticals, if we test for nitrate and we pull up a well that is nitrate, and then we send it off and we get back pharmaceuticals like ibuprofen or caffeine, we know it's a human pharmaceutical, so we know it's human nitrate. And nitrate is from leaky septic systems, which would be a hotspot. So it would be very easy to pinpoint, and it would be very easy to contain after that. But the EPA deemed it as not a big threat because only 3% of nitrogen in the lower Yakima Valley came from septic systems and had human pharmaceuticals. But that changes when we're looking at just Mabton, because the only well that they found nitrate with human pharmaceuticals in was in Mabton. So that is a concern for us. Now we're looking at which pharmaceuticals. So if we're looking at tetracyclines, sulfamonadides, and microlides, still working on the pronunciation there. But if we're looking at those three, then we know it's dairies, and we can trace them back because of the half-life. So the half-life is how long it takes for those pharmaceuticals to be cut in half. I think that's my best way of describing it. To disintegrate half. So we know that it can't last 10 years. It can last a year if the conditions are right, but it's not lasting longer. Nobody can blame older farms if we find these in the nitrate. Caffeine, carbamazepine, sulfamethoxyl, those are going to be human pharmaceuticals, which will be from the septic systems. So I'm really excited to test these wells and see what we can find. How? So we can talk about why all day long, but let's talk about the hows. How are we going to get this done? The objectives, our goals here. We're going to create a better understanding of the groundwater contamination in each area. And we're going to provide realistic expectations and options for the city to act upon. So, step one, community engagement. This is a big part of our project, actually. And during our meeting on the 17th of February, we asked questions like, do you use bottled water for drinking? Do you have any concerns about the health of your environment? Have you heard about nitrate in the groundwater area? Are you concerned? And, my head is covering it again. Can't move my head. But this is a data table based on the votes of people that attended and where their concerns were, because we wanted to make sure that we were meeting the concerns of the community and not just on my research. And spoiler, the top two that were voted for drinking water quality and city water supply. So that's where we're going to be focusing. So the good things coming out of this community engagement. This is a poster made by Adriana, CW graduate student. And some good things that we were able to ask are priorities. We were able to gauge where to start, provide a basic understanding of groundwater movement to the community. And we got phone numbers of people who want to be involved, who want to help in this study, which is great. Some of the bad things. Some people don't want to help. Some people are very skeptical of what we're doing and think we have alternative motives for the study. It's a very divided community, and not many volunteers to sample their well. And getting the word out is also a problem. We want the whole community to be involved in this study, and obviously that is not possible, but we can get as many as we can, and that is proving to be a difficult task. Map making. My map will go right here. when I finish it. I'm currently working on it, actually. And this will include data from previous studies and groundwater flow path, well logs, home ages, city water versus private well. The works will go into this map. And what that'll show is realistically we can't sample all the wells in Mabton. We can't do it. We can't sample all the houses. But what we can do is figure out which ones we should sample and which ones provide the most benefit to the entire community if we can sample. So sampling itself, we have 30 wells. We're currently waiting on the city's approval to sample the city wells. Gonna go into a few different aquifers. Dairy support. We would like the dairies to be able to. We'd like to be able to sample at least one dairy. And city versus private wells, and we're gonna make 10 trips down there total. Lab analysis. Okay, so this is a big one. So CWU lab is called Murdoch Lab, and we can sample for isotopes and major ions, and that is important. And I know we haven't talked about it, but isotopes and major ions tell us which aquifers are connected based on delta oxygen 18 and delta H2 or deuterium. And that'll tell us, based on how much of those are present in certain aquifers, we can tell if the waters are mixing. And so if there's contamination in an aquifer, we will be able to figure out if it's mixing together with a different aquifer. And same goes for the major ions like calcium, magnesium, and sodium. If those are present in one aquifer, and they're present at the same levels in another aquifer, we know those waters are mixing, so we know the contamination is in both of them without having to test for all these expensive contaminants. And hydrogen sulfide tests can actually be bought on Amazon, so I think that's going to be our best bet. So anticipated results. What we're thinking we're going to come out of this. We're going to test for high nitrate, and we can assume the pharmaceuticals are going to match the dairies just from the sheer number of nitrate pollution that is going on down there. Hydrogen sulfide present in the lower aquifers in the basalt, and city pipe distribution system problems. And I should have talked about this in the city pipe distribution slide, but a big complaint was sediment buildup in the tap water, and that means corrosion, depending on what metals. That means corrosion of the pipes in the distribution system, and that also ties to hydrogen sulfide gas. So if we can attack the hydrogen sulfide problem, we'll probably be able to fix the city pipe distribution problem as well, or not fix, but put a stop to. What does this mean for the city? Well, option one, they can drill a deeper well in a different aquifer, and that is expensive, and we don't want that to be the case. We want different things. The dairies may not be acting according to regulations, and oxidation infiltration in the current wells is also another idea, another solution that they can use. Oxygen infiltration along with chlorine injection and aeration are all applicable in this situation. Ooh, and potential tampered documents within the city government. So what does this mean? Little diagrams here. So drilling deeper well, pretty self-explanatory. Just drill a deeper well. And this one, right next to my face, this picture, is a simplified version of a chlorine injection system. Now this is my budget with transducers to measure well depth and how it varies. Analysis, $600 a sample. Samples are expensive. That's why we need to figure out which ones are going to be the best. Which ones we're going to have to get the most bang for our buck out of our samples. Timeline. I'm currently in the 2026. Well, that's a messed up timeline. Those are all supposed to be 2026, not 2025. Okay, yeah, I'll change that. We're in what it says here is a 2025 winner. We're in 2026 winner, but it's the top one, 2025 winner. And these are my references. And thank you for everybody for watching. I'm gonna see if I can upload this to YouTube, and yeah, and then I'm gonna get back into it. This will probably be outdated by the next few days. But I think I'm going to start posting more on this channel about my project and my journey through learning all this stuff, and maybe you guys would want to learn too, whoever watches. All right, well, I know my grandma and grandpa are gonna watch this, so my grandma and grandpa, all right,